Hello, bronies and pegasuses of the internet. I am LT Limelight, and welcome to my review of Friendship is Magic, Parts 1 and 2. I know it seems really late in the game to be reviewing the first two-parter of the series, but I promised myself that I would review every episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and what better place to start than the very beginning? If you've listened to my first impressions video on the fanfiction Bride of Discord, then you'll know I consider myself a much better writer than speaker, so here's what I plan on doing for these reviews. I want to be able to get all my thoughts out, but I also understand that, being in my early 20s, the attention span of my age group has a tendency to be short. So these video reviews will basically be a short, sweet version of my more elaborate written reviews that you're free to check out anytime you want on my Tumblr or DeviantArt account. Before I start, I want to introduce you guys to my Six Senses system. Try saying that 5 times fast. I'll be using it here in my video reviews and in my written reviews to keep my thoughts organized. The 6 senses I'll be using are smell, where I'll talk about the story's premise and execution; sight, where I'll discuss noteworthy visuals; sound, where I talk about noteworthy music and or voice work; taste, which will have my thoughts on the general entertainment value of the episode; touch, where I'll give you my emotional investment in the episode; and proprioception, where I'll give my overall impression by bringing everything together. Well, here we go! The basic plot of the two-parter is this. Our main character, Twilight Sparkle, reads about a legend called the Mare in the Moon. The legend tells that 1,000 years after her banishment, the Mare in the Moon, Nightmare Moon, will return to Equestria to reign in an eternal night. Since that deadline is coming the next day, Twilight sends a letter to her mentor, Princess Celestia, to take action against the threat. And Princess Celestia tells Twilight to go make friends. Okay. When Nightmare Moon does actually show up, it'll be up to Twilight and her new companions, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie, to defeat Nightmare Moon, rescue the princess, and bring Day back to Equestria by recovering the mysterious elements of harmony. This premise in a nutshell sounds pretty sweet. The setup was enough to shatter my skepticism against My Little Pony being nothing but a toy-pushing show with no depth. And the first half of the two-parter had excellent pacing and introductions of all our main characters. The second half, however, had some real problems. The main ones being pacing and a face-hoof-worthy lack of subtlety. Gee, I wonder what element you represent, honest Applejack. The rush challenges each pony faces make it hard for me to want to stick with the story at some points. But the climax and resolution definitely make up for it, and I'll explain why a little later. This show is eye candy incarnate from the first second of the runtime. I'm not even sure how to keep this section short by talking, so I'll use a list of why this show is gorgeous to look at. Number 1. These ponies are adorable without being cringe-worthingly cutesy. Number 2. The animated slideshow at the beginning of the first half really made the story feel like an epic. Number 3. The styles used for each of the characters' eyes. I could stare at them for hours. Number 4. The expressiveness of each of the main characters. Number 5. The character designs for Nightmare Moon and Princess Celestia. Nightmare's prehensile mane and both of their manes' flowiness are effective visual cues for the pony's power levels. Number 6. This! 4 seasons later, and I still said, aww. Number 7. Taste the Rainbow Tornado! I feel like I could watch this episode on mute and still follow it pretty well through the visuals, but they're still a little pale in comparison to the In short, voice acting was almost unanimously amazing. Andrea Libman, Ashley Ball, and Tabitha St. Germain just knocked it out of the ballpark with the range on their voices. Nicole Oliver as Celestia sounds like a match made in heaven for actress to character. On the weaker end, please don't kill me, Tara Strong as Twilight. No, wait a minute! Let me explain. I grew up on cartoons that feature Tara's voice, so I'm very familiar with how it sounds. So the quote-unquote weakness of her performance, in my opinion, is just a result of Tara not really having locked in the voice for Twilight yet. It isn't a bad performance, there's just nothing noteworthy about it. Except in the climax. And as for the music, my personal highlight of the episode. I could listen to the score for the last third of part 2 forever. Some of William Anderson's best work, in my opinion. But I can't say the same for Daniel Ingram. I found Pinky's laughter song to be terribly groan-inducing. Sorry, Miss Element of Laughter, but you failed to make me smile. Speaking of failed laughter, the entertainment value I had towards this episode is a little hard to talk about. This section is usually reserved for purely fangasm-worthy things and noteworthy comedy bits, but I didn't really find anything for the latter. The jokes of this episode were all on the weekend for me, and since Pinky is still coming into her own as a funny character, nearly all of her comedic bits were very weak. But I still found genuine entertainment value in this episode. Besides the music I already discussed, all the elements of the second half's climax still give me massive goosebumps, and the establishment of the universe's mythology still feels pretty awesome to me. So overall, revisiting this episode feels surreal, but the good aspects help to balance out the weaker ones. Even though I already knew the ending of this episode, I still felt compelled to stick with the characters on their journey. My overall investment still suffered from the weaker aspects of the story's execution, though. I felt there was a lack of believability in the main six's friendship, since the development of it seemed to be on fast forward in the second half. Maybe making the episode a 3-parter would have helped? I'm not sure. But I still get choked up at Celestia and Luna's reunion, and Twilight's realization during the climax that the remaining 5 are her friends. There's only one aspect of the climax that takes me out of my investment, though. Twilight's element of magic. Can someone explain to me why this is a thing, so I can be fully invested in the climax, please? And stop interrupting the emotional moments, Pinkie Pie! It's okay for you to break the fourth wall and give me a retroactive fuzzy feeling inside, though. Many bronies don't use the pilot episode as an introduction to potential bronies, and I understand why after rewatching it. Though it does showcase a number of good elements, there are also some bad aspects in it that may turn away potential new fans of the show. I'm also bearing in mind that being a pilot, there are problems inherent to a pilot, so I'm reluctant to be too harsh on it. Overall, I think I'll give this 2-parter a 6.5 out of 10. It's a decent beginning for the series that you gain more appreciation for the longer you stay with the show. If you're interested in more information on my thoughts about this episode, check out my written reviews on my DeviantArt or Tumblr account. So, until part 2 of the Lauren Faust Trilogy, I'll see you all next week, and shine on.